Welcome to the Body Smart Book Club, where we talk about the best of what we read. We're currently going over Matt Fitzgerald's book, 80-20 Running. Last week we went over Chapter 7, that covered the 7 additional rules to the 80-20 rule. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the 4th rule, which is do tried and true workouts. We're going to go a little bit more in depth here. If you have any questions throughout the video, feel free to comment below. Also, if you comment tried and true workouts below, then we'll send you a list of all the workouts that we talk about today with their explanations.
Yay!
Woohoo! We'll just jump right into it. So there's 3 different groups of workouts. There's low intensity workouts, there's moderate workouts, and then there's high intensity workouts. So we'll start with the low intensity. So the first one we'll talk about is the recovery run. This is the run that you're gonna do after a really hard workout. That's it.
Yeah, right. Super simple.
Yeah.
Super important though, right? There's a reason that we cover this one first. And the idea is that recovery needs to be a guiding principle throughout all of our workouts and throughout all of our training, because as important it is to get those runs in and get the mileage in that we want, and get those improvements that we're looking for, we have to give our bodies enough time to recover. We have to treat them well. And so building that in on the base level and the foundational level is super important, and it's going to make the high intensity workouts even more beneficial.
Exactly, and this is all done in Zone 1. So super easy, slow recovery run. Okay, next one is a foundation run. Do you want to talk about that one more?
Yeah. So again, it lives up to its name, foundation. This is going to be the bread and butter of all the training that we're doing, and that's where we're really going to hit that 80% of the low intensity, right? 80-20 running. This is going to be throughout like with low intensity, moderate intensity, high intensity. It's going to be in the base phase, the peak phase, and the taper phase. It's going to inform all of the parts of our training. Again, it's done in a light, low intensity. It's a time-based workout.
Exactly, so Zone 1, Zone 2, the bread and butter. I like that. Okay, next one is a long run. So this is an extended foundation run. This is based off of distance instead of time. So we've talked about how it's important to do all of your runs off of time. So tell yourself, okay, I'm going to run an hour today in this zone, stick to your workout, and just see how far you go in 1 hour. But a long run, you want to do it with distance, because a good example of this is you want to run at least 18 to 20 miles before you run your marathon, right? Because then mentally on marathon day, you know, okay, I've run 20 miles, so marathon is just 6 more miles. I can do that. Versus, say you never do a long run based off of distance, and the furthest you ever ran was 13 miles before your marathon. How are you going to be mentally, knowing that, okay, I've only ever ran 13 miles, so now I have to run 13 miles 2 times. Yeah.
Very foreboding, right?
Yeah.
No, I think that's super important, and it's that principle that we discussed before, right? Getting the mileage in, getting the physiological adaptations, increasing aerobic capacity, improving running economy, super important. But again, that mental component, right? Building fatigue resistance, especially through those long runs, is going to be huge in preparing us for any race, right? Whatever the distance, we just need to build physiological and mental resistance and have those adaptations.
Exactly. Okay, next group we have our moderate intensity runs. The first run here is a fast finish run. So this is just tacking on a Zone 3, pick up your intensity a little bit the last 5 minutes of your run. And this is a good way to just get in a little bit of extra intensity and increase your fatigue resistance, maybe in the base phase or as you transition from the base phase to the peak phase, to just start to get a little bit more high intensity in there.
Definitely, right? Keeping up that maintenance dose of higher intensity as we focus on building up volume in that base phase. Yeah, great. So next one is our tempo run. I feel like we should have a metronome in here for that, but that's neither here nor there. So really simple. It's really a pyramid, right? So we start out in Zone 1, move up to Zone 2, and then spend an extended period of time in Zone 3, and then back down to Zone 2, back down to Zone 1. And so it's just helping us to get more time in that moderate intensity and be more comfortable with that range.
Beautiful. And the next one is a cruise interval run, which is kind of similar, but instead of holding Zone 3 for an extended period of time, you're going to be holding Zone 3 in kind of interval spurts throughout your run. So an example of this would be you do your warm-up, and then you're going to do this 4 times, 5 minutes in Zone 3, and then 3 minutes in Zone 1. You'll do that 4 times, and then ramp down and finish your workout.
Yeah, and the nice thing about that one is that, one, you get to break it up in smaller chunks, so it's not as exhausting, right? It's just a longer, moderate intensity run. But within those chunks, you actually get an overall longer time in moderate intensity than you do in the tempo runs. So just a nice change up.
Right. And another little thing to note, I know we've talked about this before, but we wanted to mention again because it's really important. When you're doing these intervals where you're in zone 3 for 5 minutes and then you break for 2 minutes, that entire time counts as your 20% high intensity.
The one thing to remember about this is at how we're looking at moderate intensity and low intensity in this workout. So even with those moderate intensity chunks, right, we'll have some time, 2 or 3 minutes in zone 3, and then down to like a minute in zone 1 or 2. Even though we're dropping down to that lower intensity for a little bit, training wise and physiologically, right, it's as if that whole chunk is in moderate intensity, and so that's how we're going to count it.
Say you do 3 minutes in zone 3 and then 1 minute in zone 1, you're going to count 4 minutes towards your high intensity for the week. The next one is long runs with speed play. So this is going to be a long run with zone 3 sprinkled throughout it. And this is really good to do during the taper phase. So you've already done the longest run you're going to do for your training. So you've already done your 18 miles for your marathon. And now you have 4 weeks till race day. This is a great way to just get a little bit of high intensity and increase your fatigue resistance during the taper time.
So next one, again, it's a long run, but it's with fast finish. And so this is really going to mimic race day, right? Again, it's a distance-based workout, and going to be like the fast finish is what we talked about before, right? Mostly low intensity, and then that fast finish is going to be tacked onto the end, kind of really mimicking that kick that we all hope for at the end of the race, right? Push yourself a little bit more and run past those 10 or 15 people in front of you and just kill it.
And you can even mix these two a little bit if you want to do a long run with the zone 3 sprinkled throughout it, and then also end with the fast finish. That's an option too.
Definitely. No, I think that's great.
Next we have our high intensity runs, and the next run is a speed play run. So this is a great way to get some high intensity workout in during a recovery week. So you're going to come up with some kind of interval, for example, 2 minutes in zone 4 and then rest 2 minutes in zone 1, and you're just going to do this 2 or 3 times throughout your run. So nothing crazy intense, but just a few bursts of high intensity in there to get that anaerobic benefit.
Exactly. Next one is hill reps. Yay!
Woo-hoo,
Everyone loves the hill
hills.
repetitions, right? So this is going to be a super important part in the training. Because no matter the course, like there's going to be, even the flattest courses have some elevation change, and it's much better to be over-prepared than under-prepared. So regardless of the trail, if we're doing these, it'll make us more ready for race day, and just train us to be able to get those high intensity bursts when it's really hard, right? Running uphill high intensity is not the most fun thing, but it's necessary for training. And the nice thing about this one is that even though it is higher intensity, right, aerobically, it's going to be a lot more challenging running uphill. It has a lower impact force on your bones, and so it's a little bit of a break in that sense, and so ends up being a really nice tool to add in training that gives you that aerobic benefit while being a little bit more of a light workout on your body. Asterisk, or in quotes, a light workout.
Yes. So we have intervals where we're running uphill. I also wanted to note, if you're doing a trail race, it's important to sprint downhill too. You wanna get used to that. It's not gonna be as easy to get your heart rate up sprinting downhill as it is to get your heart rate sprinting uphill, but you wanna have practice going fast uphill and downhill. Next one, we have short interval runs, and these are the sprint workouts that your track coach made you do when there's kids like puking on the side of the track. This is zone 5 high intensity for 30 to 90 seconds over and over and over and over again to really get that anaerobic benefit.
Yeah, and again, high intensity fatigue resistance, right? Like, yes, we certainly want to have those long, high volume, low intensity runs, but we also need to build that mental resistance and that physiological resistance to that higher intensity, so we're prepped for race day. So next up is long interval. Oh my goodness.
So short intervals, long intervals.
Yeah. So not really much else to say on top of short intervals. It's just lengthening those times, and we're going to be in more in zone 4 as our high intensity versus the short intervals. We're going to spend more in that zone 5, just because it's really difficult to sustain zone 5 intensity for long periods of time.
Last one is a mixed interval run. So you're going to go on a long run and you're going to mix in zone 3, zone 4, and zone 5 throughout it. So you'll do zone 3, rest in zone 1, zone 4, rest in zone 1, zone 5, rest in zone 1, and you're just going to mix them up and sprinkle them in throughout. Sprinkle them in throughout the entire run.
Yeah,
and again,
no,
that's to increase your fatigue resistance. You're going to get a little bit of anaerobic benefit, just a little bit of everything, because on race day, especially if you're on trails, you're going to have that's what it's going to be. You're going to be in and out of all of the zones.
Yep.
So you want to
Some multi-intensity smoothie.
Yes.
Delicious.
Yeah, I like that.
And another nice thing, right, is that we're including different intensities throughout our whole training, and this allows us to keep the training effect from each of those zones, from our zone 3, from our zone 4, from our zone 5, right? And just build up a great reserve to go and punch it on race day.
Exactly. Again, if you have any questions on anything we talked about here, comment below. If you comment below tried and true workout, we'll send you a list of all the workouts we talked about with their explanations. By implementing all of these runs, your training is going to be a lot more effective and efficient. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next week.